N.G. Brown. Mr. Brown is the author of the very interesting book Blue Max Missions and Memories. It's a nonfiction book regarding Mr. Brown's experiences as a helicopter pilot during the Vietnam War. Mr. Brown, when I was reading this book, one event that really stood out that I thought was that would be the kind of thing that a lot of the viewers might want to hear about is an event that happened on the 24th of December 1968 regarding Lerps. Lerps, for the viewers that may not have heard of this, I know it was the first time I had heard of it when I read the book, are I guess they're long-range reconnaissance patrols. Could you please tell the viewers a little bit about that, and also what exactly are Lerps in your own words?
Well, Lerps are typically 5 or 6 man teams that were inserted out into the bush to, I guess, look for the bad guys, but not necessarily make contact with the bad guys.
Kind of like maybe scouts?
Yeah, more than that. They were intelligence gathering. You know, they didn't. Scouts just typically go ahead of the larger element. These guys were put out in the bush with nobody else around for many miles, and so they crept through the jungle at night, things like that, and occasionally they would run up against somebody, and the enemy would take them under attack, and you know, for a 5 or 6 man team to run into a company or maybe even a battalion, you know, that's a very frightening thing, and it could be a very short-term thing.
Sure, I bet that's true.
But these guys that you're talking about probably ran into at least a company, and you know, they very heavily armed, these five guys, but nevertheless you run into a company of maybe 150, 180 people. They're all pretty heavily armed also. So these guys were doing everything they could to keep the enemy at bay until we got there. And I was a young warrant officer at the time, was not very experienced, but I was an aircraft commander. But the guy in the front seat in my Cobra was the mission commander, and he was a captain and thought he knew everything, which he lacked a little bit here and there. But anyway, we talked to the guys on the ground, and they told us where they wanted us to shoot, which would have been 50 meters east of their position. That's where the bad guys were. Okay. I take that back. It wasn't east of his position, it was east of the smoke that he threw.
East of the smoke he threw?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. The guy in the front seat in my Cobra thought they meant 50 meters west of the smoke, which he was thinking the smoke was east of them. So he took the aircraft from me and says, I'll do it, you know. And I said, I don't think you understand what the guy's asking for. He said, I know what I'm doing. And he fired a pair of rockets, you know, and was expecting to get a correction from there, you know, and just like we always did.
And what happened?
What he got instead was, cease fire, you're killing us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just cease fire, you're killing us.
Yeah. And we broke off, and the guy got very mellow up in the front seat and very quiet, you know. And I took the aircraft back from him and started talking to the guy on the ground myself. And I think the guy on the ground realized that he was talking to somebody else, because he started explaining the situation, that 3 out of 5 of them had been wounded by that one pair of rockets, and nobody was in serious trouble. But he said, you know, if you shoot any more, don't shoot here.
Oh my gosh. So 3 to 5 guys were actually injured by the mistake, by the accident.
Right.
It was just terrible. And what would your comment be on the the friendly fire incidents, what do you think accounted for? Would you say there's anything in particular that stood out? Just basically, was it more incompetence, or was it just more confusion in general terms that accounted for a lot of friendly fire?
Well, it could have been any of those. This particular one was probably egotism.
Uh-huh.
You know, the guy that was a captain, you know, was going to show me because he was a captain and I was a warrant officer.
Uh-huh. I see. Well, you know, that was just the type of experience it points out where not only do you face danger